He's got a podcast, Road Tripping. That must have felt great at 36 years old. That had to feel great, did it not?
That feels good at any age.
Bring that mic closer. Okay. So I don't know if you've ever heard this show, but there is a sense that I have been a complete abject homer for LeBron for a decade. I wake up Saturday and I'm like, when is Ben Simmons on? By the way, I have 3 friends who have texted me. And one of them, my buddy David Nichols out east, who's in the shoe apparel business and has dealt with all these stars. He goes, Colin, I feel the exact same way you do. I know I'm not alone on this. I feel like the league now is okay if LeBron doesn't carry it. I really feel that. Am I nuts?
No, you're not nuts. I think there's a new batch of superstars that are going to come every year. I think Embiid, people were calling him the next Olajuwon. People were excited to see him. You have to understand, but the league has always been this way. When Michael Jordan was towards the end of his career, it became who's the heir apparent. Is it Harold Miner, Baby Jordan? Is it Kobe Bryant? Is it Grant Hill? Like, who is the heir apparent?
Only one guy was, though. It was more Kobe.
Yeah, it was Kobe. But everybody was always looking for who was next. And sometimes next shows up. And I think for the league, I think it's good. But is Ben Simmons LeBron?
Okay, let me ask you this, though. Kobe wasn't as good as Michael. But the league, when Kobe finally arrived, no longer was desperately in need of Michael. So Ben doesn't have to be as good as LeBron. But if he is a galvanizing force and can dominate the East, I mean, what if LeBron went West? He's going to become a de facto LeBron, whether he's as good or not.
Well, you can't, and let's not disrespect anybody. So my rookie year, Michael Jordan came back, and it was right after 9/11, and Michael Jordan announced he was coming out of retirement to play for the Wizards. I remember seeing a thing, and it says Michael Jordan saying that he came back put $1 billion into the U.S. economy, right? When, obviously through 9/11 and everything, things were kind of in shambles. But ticket sales, TV sales, jersey sale, everything just went through the roof. And LeBron still carries that. And Kobe carried it. MJ carried it. Simmons he's still a quote unquote rookie. I don't know if they are where they need to be yet. Yes, this Cavs team is not the same Cavs team they've had for the last 3 years.
They're bad defensively.
They are struggling to find. They are struggling.
You're being kind.
I'm being kind because I still have a connection to those guys, and I'm rooting for those guys, and I believe in them.
Okay, let me shift to this. You don't have to put words in LeBron's mouth, but you've traveled with him. Yeah. You've been with him. You've joked with him. You probably had a glass of wine with him.
One or two.
You played a card game with him.
1 or 2.
And when the media has been doing this for now like 8 years, they've been anointing the next LeBron. And by the way, Richard, I didn't buy into any of them.
Yeah.
I didn't buy. When the media would do that for now I'm doing it with Simmons, what was LeBron's kind of reaction?
Well, every great player finds ways to motivate themselves. And I think for him, it was a motivating factor. And it is tough. This guy shows up with all the hype in the world, all the pressure in the world, and has lived up. Kobe Bryant didn't show up with this type of hype. Michael Jordan didn't show up with this type of hype.
You're right.
No one in history has showed up with this type. And you talked about Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson still had, I know he had an amazing, Game 6, but he still had James Worthy on his team. He still had Kareem Abdul-Jabbar on his team. When LeBron came in, he didn't have any of those players around him. And over time, going to Miami, getting Chris Bosh and having D-Wade coming back and having Kevin Love and Kyrie, that's when you could start to see, what he's capable of doing. Not in those early years of Cleveland. Those early years of Cleveland were tough because they were so good, but they weren't able to get over the hump.
What if they lose tonight, Richard? Okay, we've always believed this, Richard, that LeBron's kind of, what's the Willy Wonka, the magic ticket? LeBron's the ticket. For years, we're like, put him on Brooklyn, put him on New York, put him on Sacramento. Like, LeBron gets you there. If they lose in the first round of the Eastern playoffs, there's a message around this league. He's no longer the meal ticket.
I wouldn't even say that. I think this team particularly was more set up not to win the championship this year. I think this team was set up more in case he leaves, right? So you kept that pick. You kept the Brooklyn pick. You have younger players.
You don't love this roster?
No, I think this roster has enough talent to accomplish anything that they want to accomplish. but it's just going to be a lot harder than it's been the last 3 years.
You think they win tonight?
I believe they win tonight. I still think they win this series. I think it's going to be very, very difficult. So the last 2 years, like we won 10 straight my first year, then we beat Toronto 4-2. The next year we win 11 straight, and outside of Marcus Smart having the best shooting night of his life, we go through the conference. This year, if they're going to make it to the finals, in my opinion, it's going to be 6 games, 7 games, 6 games. Like it's going to take them a grind to get through all the way through. It won't be what has happened the past couple of years.
I want to shift to something because people know I've been critical of Westbrook, but I want to synthesize it down to this. I'm not a stat guy. I never have been. I've never been like when I was a kid. I was a baseball card collector. So there was a time when I would memorize home runs and stats, but I've never been into stats. A guy can play or he can't. A guy's a baller or he's not. A guy's a clutch or he's not. I don't care about your stats. And so I really bristle at the triple-double. First of all, I don't even know why we just indiscriminately pick points, assists, rebounds.
They're the most important things.
I mean, rebounds used to control this league. Possessions now do.
Yeah.
I could argue you could go points because points matter, assists because assists become points, and then I could argue you could go plus minus field goal percent. Rebounds don't win games as much as they used to. So how do players see the triple-double?
Well, it was I'll go back. Oscar Robertson, he said that he didn't know that the triple-double was going to be a thing, right? That's just how he played. That's how he played. So he just played basketball, and you look up and he averaged X, Y, and Z, right? Because that's just what he did. That's how he impacted the game. It wasn't a thing then. It wasn't something that guys were trying to achieve and attain. I think as the game has evolved, guys want to have an impact on a certain level. Because whatever the media talks about, so everyone sees Westbrook, everyone sees the triple-double, everyone sees Jason Kidd and Grant Hill, and you hear about Magic Johnson triple-doubles, LeBron triple-double. So every kid watching basketball that's 10 years old or 12 years old, that's what they're going to try to attain. And I would even tell my son playing basketball, if he gets to 15, go try and get a triple-double. Go try and give me rebounds. Give me 10 assists to make your teammates better. Go score points.
So it's real basketball that matters, you think?
It's real basketball that matters, but I think it's a way to indicate your impact on the game personally. If you can have 10, 11 assists, that means you're getting guys involved. Now, there's some triple-doubles. Now, every triple-double is not created equally, right? Like, I can shoot 40% from 3, and Steph can shoot 40% from 3, but they're very different percentage threes. And it's the same thing with triple doubles. Some guys can get a triple double, and then other guys can go and, Westbrook talked about stealing rebounds and going just trying to facilitate triple doubles every single night. Those are not created equally.
All right, Richard Jefferson joining us. Let me go back to this Ben Simmons thing, because if you didn't watch the first hour, I was married to LeBron for years, and now I've become engaged with somebody else, and it's Ben Simmons, who is not as good as LeBron, but I do feel like the league can now say, we're good here. We got a dynasty. We got Houston. We got a bunch of stars. And even in the East, we got the next guy. Okay, so let's just go down and talk Ben Simmons. What don't you like about him?
If we're being really critical here, what I don't like about Ben in that he's going to improve. Everyone improves over the course. Obviously his ability to shoot free throws, his ability to shoot the three. I think that's the difference between him and some of the other great players. But it's tough for him to be your point guard on a last possession down by 2. I'm just fouling. Right, I foul him down by 3. He can't be your point guard. You don't even know if he's in the game because I'm not sure, but I think it was in the low 60s, high 50s from free throw. So if you can't be that guy at the end of the game, people are always critical of LeBron. He's made this pass and he didn't shoot this shot. People are critical, but I'm just saying I am a big fan of making the right play and the right pass.
Right.
But if you want to ask me what about Ben, if you can't have a guy, one of the best players, quote unquote, in the world. And we're not talking about Shaquille O'Neal. We're talking about a guy late game that's your point guard for the first 45 minutes of the game. And in the last 3 minutes, we need somebody that can make a free throw.
Okay. Could I make the argument though that LeBron in the last 2 years has really made free throw percentage a thing? But I never trusted LeBron in big free throw spots. I trusted Jordan. I trusted Kobe. I'll trust Westbrook. I definitely trust Harden. most of my life with LeBron, the one thing I didn't want is him shooting free throws with 42 seconds left.
But they weren't going to foul him intentionally.
Why?
Ben Simmons, because Bron is still a 70% free throw shooter. Like, that's different. Like, Bron, if he's driving to the hole and they say, oh, just foul him or wrap him up, which they say often in basketball, if a person gets you in a bad way, just wrap him up, make him go. There's foul for profit is what we call it in the league. Like, if you foul a guy like a DeAndre Jordan, a Drummond, guys that aren't good, you would rather foul them hard and let them make one free throw, 1 out of 2, or miss them both. That's a foul for profit. Ben Simmons, there was a time where they were going hack a Simmons. Like, that to me.
Now, he is a rookie.
And that's what we're talking about right now. So that's something that needs to be focused on. That's something that needs to be improved on.
I don't think it's as bad as Lonzo Ball. I mean, Lonzo Ball at one point, I didn't even think the delivery of it looked good. He was shooting worse free throws than he was jumpers. Like, there are parts of Lonzo Ball that I do worry about his mechanics. I just don't think Ben's had to shoot much to score because he's so strong. I mean, he played rugby. He's so strong. He's so physical. He's so long. He's almost like a high school center. Yeah. Like Patrick Ewing came in with no low post game because he dunked on everybody.
Every time.
And so I think Ben Simmons is now – he's been so gifted as a 6'10" point. He could just go to the right. First of all, he's so strong and fast. Do you know when Embiid got hurt, the Sixers became the number 1 tempo in the league? You know how it is. When you break into this league, it takes a while to catch up to the league.
Yeah, well, he didn't. Well, and that's my other thing about Ben. Like, he's been here for a while. He's just been, I personally believe that there was a time where he probably could have played last year. And they're like, just sit out. We'll try and get the number 1 pick again next year. He broke his foot, which is a 6 to 8 week injury. Maybe even if it's a 3-month injury, and then he comes back around the first of the year.
You don't feel he's a real rookie?
It's not that he's not a real rookie, but there is something different about having the ability to watch your team that you know that you're going to play with, interact with your guys. Like, to me, Donovan Mitchell is the best rookie in the NBA this year. He didn't know what team he was going to be on. He didn't know who his coach was going to be. He didn't have a year to study their offense and to learn what he was going to do. Only thing he did was play college, go through the draft process, show up, and then all of a sudden average 20 points a game for a playoff team. Had 25 and 10 in his first playoff game. So even when these moments got big, and for me, he's having to finish games. He's having to knock down free throws in the last 38 seconds of a game. They're giving him the ball and running plays for him to score. That's hard to do as a rookie for a playoff team, and to average 20 without any prep, without knowing your offense, knowing your coach, knowing anything.
I think I like Ben Simmons more than you do.
I like Ben a lot. I'm
proposing my love for Ben Simmons.
You made a point. Guys will take less money to go play for him, and I agree. I agree. Bron is one of those guys. I feel
Magic was one of those guys.
Magic was one of those guys.
Kobe wasn't.
Jason Kidd was one of those guys.
Kobe wasn't.
Steve Nash was one of those guys.
I think Ben. People say he can't shoot, and my thing is, shooters are going to want to play with him
because he wants to pass the ball. Jason Kidd was notorious for literally having a layup and throwing it out to somebody else. And
guys notice that,
and guys notice, and you want to play. You want to play with a. And LeBron has been that guy for a long time.
Guys notice it. Shoe companies notice that. Agents notice that.
Yes.
They funnel guys to guys that can help their players. Richard Jefferson. Good stuff, man.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.